Welcome back to London Live News. Now, the fire which destroyed the Grenfell Tower and killed 71 people has been back in the news today. The tragedy has also provided inspiration from artists, musicians, filmmakers and now poets. Justice, Poems for Grenfell Tower is an anthology of poetry about the disaster from a range of voices. Two of them are here this evening, Janine Booth and Tom McColl. Before we hear from them, though, let's see a clip of one of the poems, Bring It Home.
Bring help, bring fire engines, bring water, bring air, bring stretchers, bring ambulances, bring us round from sleep and out to safety. Bring food, bring clothes, bring blankets, bring camp beds, bring phone chargers so we can find our friends and family and tell them that we...
Seeing you there, Janine, tell us about the sort of inspiration and why this anthology was put together.
It's often said that whenever there's a tragedy, lots of poetry gets written. But the Grenfell Tower fire was more than just a tragedy. Tragedy suggests something accidental or unpreventable, something natural, but the Grenfell Tower wasn't that. It was 100% preventable. It was a result of political decisions and of an economic system. And a lot of these poems speak to that because we want to keep those issues in the public eye, and as poets and contributors we want to show our solidarity with the victims of Grenfell Tower and with the community that is continuing to campaign for the justice that they as yet still haven't been given.
What do you think poetry can do, Tom? I mean, on the one hand, obviously you want political acts, you want big decisions made. What do you hope your poems, your words, your lines will do for the situation?
Well, I mean, I think there's three reasons we wanted to bring the book out. It wasn't just to raise money for the Grenfell Foundation. It's also to show solidarity with the people of Grenfell. And also, as David Lammy says in his foreword of the book, is kind of ensuring that their voices, helping in our own way to ensure that their voices are still heard, because it's so easy for it to fall by the wayside. But it's just, and we're doing various launches all over the country, and so it's kind of keep getting it out there and kind of just making sure that it's people are able to, their voices are still heard in our own way, as well as, because obviously there's things like the silent walk, and it's still in the news as well, but this is our own way of doing that.
It's interesting you say going around the country there, Tom, because this is not just something that's happened in London, is it? This is something that's obviously pulled on many people's hearts across the country, indeed across the world.
That's right. So although it's obviously particularly relevant to London because it happened here, the political and economic issues behind it apply all over the place. So we've already fixed up events around this book in, I'll be performing at events in Doncaster and in Newcastle. There are also several others around the country, and in a lot of those events we'll be involving local housing campaigns, local firefighters, and anyone who's fighting for a fair and more just public housing system. I think we know now that not only is a lot of housing dangerous, but it's also overpriced. And there's also an issue in London and elsewhere that David Lammy highlights in his foreword, which is the Grenfell Tower fire showed very much that in London we live in two cities. There are two cities. There's the city of the super rich who live in very safe housing and very big housing, and then there's the London of everyone else who lives in overpriced, poor, cramped, and in this case dangerous housing.
Is it safe to say, do you think, that, Tom, this book could be part of a wider thing, not just addressing the Grenfell Tower, but perhaps a wider political movement?
I think it can, yes, and I mean, it's poets from all over the world who've contributed. There's some well-known poets, but also not so well-known, but also people who are closely connected to Grenfell. And I mean, I think it's something that the success of the book so far already, and with all the launches, I think it would inspire other people to do something similar as well with other kinds of where there's other kinds of events like this. And I think, yes, so that's one reason that we're doing that, yes.
Tom Booth, Janine McColl, thank you so much. Tom McColl, Janine Booth, I should say, thank you both so much for your time. If you want to read Poems for Grenfell Tower, it is out now, that anthology. From poetry to powerboating now, for the first time in 30 years, the Formula One Powerboating World Championships is going to be held in London. We went to the launch a little earlier.